Good afternoon. Welcome to my talk at this year's Summit for AI Institute Leadership in Pittsburgh. Today, I'm going to talk about how I built my own chatbot and what it means for higher education. I represent the Digital Humanities Institute at George Washington University. I'm also associated with our Trustworthy AI initiative. I built a proprietary AI teaching assistant in response to a number of trends, as outlined below. Multiple surveys indicate widespread use of AI among college students. However, the use cases suggest that they put AI to irresponsible and ineffective use. There are, of course, caveats because the research results are all over the place, and some are commercially driven, such as by Quizlet. However, the surveys are useful in indicating trends and identifying pedagogical needs. My goal is to build inclusive education through open educational resources and open access AI assistant bots that can support students' personalized learning. Let's take a look at the Digital Education Council survey in September 2024, based on nearly 4,000 responses. 86% of college students are using AI in their studies, and 24% of them are using it daily. As much as 54% are using it daily or weekly. The most common tool that they use is ChatGPT, which has remained the star app ever since they launched in late 2022. Other popular tools are Grammarly and Copilot. And students do vary up and mix their usage of tools, but they gravitate largely to ChatGPT. In terms of the use cases, 69% of students surveyed said that they use it to search for information. So it's no difference from using it as some kind of search engine. This is a disappointment to me because, as we know, generative AI is not a reliable or effective mechanism to retrieve facts and information. Even though a simple Google interface today comes by default an AI overview. So whatever you search for before you see the list of results, on top you have a summary generated by AI. They do provide links at the end of each paragraph so that you can go directly to the sources. However, in my test, it's not entirely accurate. The results are actually a mix of what you are searching for with a lot of other items that are not in your search parameters. So that's another example to say how generative AI really is an ineffective mechanism to retrieve information. What do students want? What do they need? Well, this chart tells us very clearly on the very top of their list, and their wish list is 24/7 assistance, is some kind of real-time feedback, a chatbot to answer their questions. But there is a huge gap here because generally in today's American higher education, there are very, very few bespoke AI models that are custom built for specific class uses. So to rely on, for example, ChatGPT that is not trained on the material of a particular course, it may be able to provide live feedback, but the quality of feedback is inaccurate and very low. So all of these factors motivated me to build my proprietary AI to model best practices in civic science, but also to pilot to test the hypothesis of trustworthy AI in higher education. My AI is located at this URL, criticaltheory.info. And as you can see, once you launch the chat bubble, it has a very simple interface where you can start to put in your prompt. And depending on how you frame your question, depending on the level of sophistication that your prompt indicates, the AI will pick up the clue and it'll adapt its answer to the student's level. So this is responsive and adaptive AI design. In other words, its output is directly correlated to the user's input, to the level of the student. And this is a great feature for personalized learning, so that different students would be able to receive different levels of explanations of the class course material that we cover that would be appropriate to their level. You'll also notice that as soon as you initiate the chat, once the chat is underway, a box would float. It'll stay there. It says contact Professor Joubin. This is my fail-safe mechanism, so that if there are any questions, so that the idea is I don't want people to think of the AI teaching assistant as a replacement or as the sole source of information. You can easily click that box to contact me. So this is to show that I'm always there and to keep the trained human in the loop. I spend a lot of time talking to students about prompting, the science of prompting, but also to think metacritically about what is a research question. In interacting with the AI, they're essentially engaging with critical questions. And a key feature of my AI here is you can use so-called magic words to enhance the quality of the output. These are also known as boundary setting words. You can say according to chapter 3, you can say according to this author, according to Professor Joubin. The idea is the material is actually quite vast. For example, critical race theory that's spread across many chapters. If you were to say only critical race theory, you might not be able to get exactly the answer that you need. And so adding more specification, especially the word according to, can really direct the bot to look in a specific place. And in the piloting phase, we have established that my AI is trustworthy according to the National Institute of Standards and Technology's 4 pillars of explainability, interpretability, accountability, and transparency. And you can see my full statement at the URL here, criticaltheory.info. And if you go under the tab of Trustworthy AI. Just very briefly, explainability. In terms of explainability as one of the criteria for trustworthiness, here I explain that this model is built with retrieval augmented method to draw answers from within a preset boundary. In terms of its interpretability, the AI operation and the Next.js app for chatbot interface, these are hosted on Vercel database, and we have an API for the large language model. So I mentioned before the adaptive output. So this is an example of how we acknowledge differentiated interest and how the model could provide differentiated benefits to students to enhance personalized learning, to address each student with their particular needs and the level they're at. In terms of the model's accountability, it is modeling best practices in civic science as a productive partnership between scientists, coders, and the public, all of them as stakeholders in co-creating technologies for public good in a democratic society. So it is a collaborative project with me being in the lead and as fundraiser, but my student also taught me enough coding skills so that I can maintain and update the bot. Meanwhile, my computer science student has learned a great deal about trustworthy design as well as humanistic AI deployment. In terms of the model's transparency, We do not store user interaction data. The user's chats or questions with the AI, all of that will be erased as soon as you close the dialog box. So we guarantee full privacy. And there is full transparency about our open access design because the model is trained on a predefined data set, which is entirely transparent because that is the data of the entire open access education OER online textbook. We're also transparent about the ethical principles, why we design our goals for open pedagogy, open education. So by transparency here, I'm not speaking just about white boxing, opening up the black box, looking into the engine room, boring everyone with the coding details, but rather larger scale issues, ethical implications and social implications. I think these are important elements of social transparency. It's not just the technical details that users are interested or can benefit from. So now I'm going to zoom out a little bit and speak of the culture of civic science, which is what is informing the project design. Essentially, this notion casts scientists and engineers as responsible citizens, as community members. And it demands that citizens from all walks of life engage actively in social implications of technologies, not necessarily in the designing phase of technologies, but to have productive conversations about the social implications of emerging technologies, to take an interest in these discussions, to have a seat at the table. So it is a community-oriented collaboration for the public good. And this is what we understand to be the public interest technology. I'm currently the public interest technology scholar on our campus, and I've been working to counter the monopoly of profit-driven corporate logic with open education models. Historically, technologies have often been developed by able-bodied engineers without consultation with the community. And it actually leads to more flawed designs. So to cultivate a culture of civic science is not necessarily a social justice issue. It is actually contributing actively to effective and efficient design. An example is sign language machine translation, which is a cutting-edge field, but current translation apps are developed primarily by hearing scientists without the input from deaf communities, and without a full understanding of how sign language works. For instance, they are communicating layered information through many different channels. There's the factual information, such as the very word tomorrow. There's the emotional information attached to it. Are you saying tomorrow question mark, tomorrow exclamation mark, tomorrow but? And so all of that is important clues embedded in facial expressions and how particular sentences are signed. Currently, machines look for mostly the semantic meaning, but actually the social meanings are just as important. With civic science, we can begin to solve a number of problems. Here are three of them. The first is the bias of technological solutionism. It's a misconception that philosophical or deeper social problems are simply engineering ones. The idea is that there's always an algorithm for that. And the second one is that while there are more conversations about the society and technologies, and there are more discussions of technologies as eternal questions as embedded in technologies, these conversations remain shallow because not all stakeholders are at the table, or rather, they are at different tables. Last but not least, it is commonly said that AI is weird, W-E-I-R-D, because of the biases into primary data sets and its design principles. AI currently is primarily white, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic. With civic science, we'll be able to enhance the diversity of design and conversation, as well as the use case considerations. So with my AI, I'm trying to solve two challenges in education, namely singularity and a misunderstanding of what critical thinking is. The singularity refers to the idea that when you interact with a discursive model with a conversational interface, due to its seemingly eloquent output, there's the idea that what it gives you must be the answer, the ultimate answer. This is in opposition to a traditional search engine that will give you a list of links, of rabbit holes to follow. And so that's a real danger. Secondly, this misunderstanding of mistaking synthesis for critical thinking is a very strong trend right now, because AI excels in summarizing, in extrapolating patterns from large data sets. But pattern recognition and synthesis, they might be one step toward sophisticated scientific research that in itself is not critical thinking. And so I teach two skills to address these problems: critical questioning skills and metacognition skills. In terms of critical question skills, the emphasis here is an understanding of the questions themselves as data points. And asking effective and much needed questions are as important as solving the problems. So we will perfect and enhance this skill through multiple iterations. You have to try out your questions, perhaps starting with more close-ended versions, and testing it out, see what kind of possible responses with this kind of close-ended questions generate. So the AI is a good simulator in this case. And based on that, you're able to then refine it, expand it, eventually giving more toward an open-ended research question. And this is a new capacity that we never quite had so handy in the past. To test it out in real time, the effectiveness of your question. In terms of metacognition skills, metacognition refers to the process of becoming aware of one's own thought patterns. Why do I frequently think certain thoughts? Why and how does the society keep asking certain questions at this moment? What is behind it? What's the motivation? What is the collective anxiety? So metacognition skills allows us to ask questions about questions. And in building this kind of proprietary AI for education, I'm envisioning AI as a type of social robotics. And one of its primary purpose is simulation. More specifically, simulation of social situations. Its output will represent the means of common beliefs and biases within a society, so we can also treat AI as a surveillance instrument, sociologically speaking. There are projects that are similar to how I use AI. At MIT, they have this app called AI Comes Out of the Closet. It is a conversational bot in order to train future advocates for LGBTQ communities. And since there are a lot of delicate issues, you can't exactly train well-intended advocates with real human beings in case they're sensitive topics, or perhaps they haven't completed their training and might say something offensive. So this is where the AI simulation will come in perfectly. With several iterations of training, they emerge as better advocates. Another, perhaps more for amusement project, also based at MIT, is called the Future You project. So this is an AI bot that is not pre-assembled, but rather each time you interact with it, a very personalized version will be created based on prolific input that they demand of you. You have to talk about yourself first. And then based on that, they would age your photo, and then they would build a model that is supposed to be the voice of you in 30 years. So you can chat with your future self who time travels back 30 years from the future, to enhance what psychologists call self-continuity, to be able to envision this future version of yourself, perhaps to project and discuss your anxieties. The question here is not accuracy, but rather kind of this kind of more artistic vision. It involves a fuzzy task. And current generative AI is a fuzzy tool. So a fuzzy tool for a fuzzy task is actually a great match. I have another example of AI as social robotics. There is a research project that has just been funded by American Council of Learned Societies, ACLS, and they're using AI for data justice. They're using it to anonymize sensitive data and using it to help researchers recognize handwriting patterns across hundreds of historical personal letters. And with AI's help, they're able to open up this historical archive while also respecting historical figures' privacy. Since they've already passed away, there's no way for researchers now to obtain their permission. And so to anonymize the sensitive letters is a way of kind of restoring the history, but also respecting their privacy. So these are the implications for the uses of AI as social simulation and social collaboration, as well as a type of social robotics for higher education and for research. And I look forward to continuing expanding my pilot project, and I'm hoping more faculty members would jump on the bandwagon and build proprietary, highly customized AI for specific disciplines. So thank you for coming to my paper today. I wish you a wonderful day.